So threats for terror, threats of natural disaster, bird flu, avian flu. We've got to have martial law. It's a new reason every week. And they can take normal flu this season. And is it bird flu? Oh, we don't know. And stampede you to take those special vaccines. Those special vaccines, they're so hell-bent on you getting into your body. And most forms of cancer are up around 500% in the last 40 years. Wonder why? Oh, it's a combination of all the dioxin in the soil and air, and it's a combination of the genetically modified food. I don't know. I've had Nobel Prize winners on my radio show in genetics going over it. This is the facts, folks. And it's those dirty little vaccines. We have the official Henry Kissinger documents and Pentagon documents where back in the 70s and even as early as the 50s, they planned to poison you with vaccines. But go ahead and trust them. Go ahead and take your injections and worry why your family with no history of cancer, why your 3-year-old dies of leukemia. Well, we happen to know that we've got the documents. We happen to know that's a bioweapon attack through that hepatitis shot you let them give your baby at birth. These people are Malthusians to the extreme. These individuals are into population reduction. That's all they talk about. That's all they push. That's all they're really about. And because you're a medical doctor watching, you don't want to believe that you're bad. Well, we didn't say you were bad. You're compartmentalized and ignorant. You better find out what is documented. This is not debatable. This is a deliberate bioweapon Nazi attack on the people of the world. You think it's bad here in the U.S. In Africa, they run and hide their children when the medicine man comes. When the UN comes with their and they pay off local dictators to forcibly capture the children and the women and make them take their shots. And then our news calls them ignorant savages. Those ignorant savages will not accept, even when they're starving to death, the genetically modified crops. It rots on the dock. Those ignorant savages will hack off their arms within minutes of being forcibly injected because they've seen you get the shot, the pus starts dripping, you start dying, within a week or two. Sometimes it's a year, you die of cancer. Whole villages wiped out. They're there with the injectors. In some cases, 45% of an African country will have HIV, and they've got studies admitting people whose parents don't have it, who are not sexually active, who've never had sex, never used drugs, intravenous drugs, and they've all got HIV. And then we have Pentagon documents in the early 70s calling for the development of AIDS. Now, this isn't my opinion. None of this has been... Folks, listen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but come on, you've been watching for years, and you know everything we've said has come true. Come on, you know that. You know that. And the elite think you're so stupid that they can just let me get on the air and talk about all this and you'll go along with it. And by the elite, there's only a few hundred of them operating through compartmentalization with a couple thousand minions that serve under them. When you look at the bioweapon scientist, there's a few hundred of these guys who run the whole thing. Not even a couple hundred, a few dozen scientists and a few hundred underlings. Most people are compartmentalized, don't even know what they're doing at these big pharma plants. And it's the same thing. You've got a few hundred top globalists that run it all. The average local billionaire thinks they're the elite. They're nothing. They're drinking Diet Coke full of aspartame. They're giving their newborns injections of vaccines that are going to screw them up. I remember reading all the scientific studies and major peer-reviewed reports a decade ago when I really started getting involved about how they knew mercury, let's take something simple, was brain damaging the children in mass. Their answer, increase the mercury. Scientists complained at the CDC, and the answer was by the big pharma, we're going to increase the level. And then in 2000, we now have the declassified documents released by CDC, where they're all in there at the corporate meeting, and they're going, I wouldn't give my granddaughter this. This is brain damage millions, and, well, we got to cover it up. By the way, they didn't take the thimerosal out of the vaccines. It's been increased massively. Increased massively. And again, I could talk all day about this one subject. Doctors are watching right now, and you're wanting to fool yourselves. You're saying I'm wrong. Come on, write down notes right now of what I'm saying. Go check it out and find that I'm true. And you'll be there at the medicine cabinet at the office, and you'll be sitting there with a vaccine. You'll go online, and I want you tomorrow, I want you tonight to be sitting there going, he was right. Oh, my God. I want you to realize how unconscious you really are. Okay? Yes, they have made available in small lots vaccines that cost about 3 times as much and that do not have thimerosal in them. But that's not what these major clinics and most doctors' offices, I've got AP articles on this, by the way. It's not like it's a secret. That's not what you're ordering. That's not what you're using. So, yeah, when you hear they took the thimerosal out, yeah, they made it available where you could get vaccines that don't have thimerosal, the mercury-based preservative. But no one's got it. You cannot find it. I mean, if you want to order it special, you can get it for your family. And then you've got all the other problems associated with it. The United Nations has been caught adding female hormones needed for the completion of a pregnancy to tetanus shots, and thus the body then attacks the hormone as well as the tetanus because the two are bound to each other. And it gets all up into science, but the point is that then the women cannot carry a baby to term because the glands that produce that become basically infected and diseased and have autoimmune responses in them and tend to develop cancer, and the woman tends to die. So not only is there 100% sterilization of any woman that takes this shot, the UN-sponsored special tetanus. And when the UN got caught doing this, when the United Nations got caught doing this, they said, oh, it was an accident. And then they looked at where it was manufactured. It was made all over the world in scores of different labs, and every lab the UN had contracted had added this very expensive synthetic female hormone to it in the production. It was done on purpose. And then the experts looked at it and said, wait a minute. This is like major reports in Africa and India and England, folks. This has been big news for 7 years. And they were caught again last year doing it. They looked at it and they said, wait a minute. Why didn't the UN have this program for men? They called it, the UN said it was a kind of a feminist initiative. Women don't get enough help, enough medical care. That's how they camouflage it in the third world, in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. You know what we're going to do? We're going to give women free tetanus shots. Oh, no, men, you don't, because it wouldn't have hurt the men. Oh, you don't get it. It's for women. Oh, and even the little doctors giving the shots. I feel so good, even though I'm getting malaria in this country and, all these other problems. I'm here for my 2 years doing this because I love the little Africans. I'm a bleeding heart. Inject, inject, inject. Feeling good. I'm dealing death and misery. Just feeling good while you do it. And just like the doctors are watching right now, you won't go check it out. You won't go find out about it. But don't worry, the people will. They'll all read the scientific reports and Nobel laureates going public and top laboratories in India discovering it and all of this. Don't worry, the people are going to find out. They're going to Google it all right now, and you can sit there and suck your thumb, and then none of the people that come into your office will take the vaccines. And then don't worry, the government will release bio attacks to try to scare us all to take the vaccines. Yeah. But what happened with the smallpox? 99+% of medical workers refused. They ordered 14 million Americans to take it. You hear in the news 500,000. No, it was millions. They ordered these millions to take it, and 4,000 did. Over 99% said no. Why did all the big epidemiologists and virologists say no? When they, quote, had to take it 3 years ago as part of the smallpox initiative? Because they said this doesn't even protect you against smallpox. This will spread smallpox. This vaccine's dangerous. This thing's worthless. This thing's toxic. Oh, but I know as an MD locally, injecting kids all day, you won't admit what you've been part of and what you've been involved in. So you'll just ignore all those epidemiologists and virologists. Well, why don't you just march out and roll up your sleeve then and have them cram some of that smallpox in you? If it's so good and it's so delicious. Our government funded Hitler. Nazism began here, not over there. Prince Philip openly says he wants to kill you, so does Ted Turner, and so do all their big publications. And we got Henry Kissinger ordering the third world to sterilize half their women in 1973 in a secret document, or no IMF or World Bank money. And folks, in places like Peru, they drove around with buses with machine gun troops, and they drug women in, and they took them in and had medical students butcher them. In other areas, they got injections to do it.